Oh, hey guys, Gap has reintroduced 4 of their past fragrances and also launched a new fragrance that just dropped a few days ago. And I've got a bag of the fragrances. I went to the Gap store and I bought them, and I wanted to do first impressions, my thoughts on these 5 fragrances for you on camera. And I'm very excited for these that they got reintroduced. They've actually increased the concentration. They were originally eau de toilettes. Now they're eau de parfums. And I'm looking forward to talking to you about these fragrances here on camera. So I remember these fragrances launching in the 90s. I wasn't so obsessed with fragrances back then, but they kind of became called classics until they got discontinued. So I've been anticipating these fragrances and for Gap to relaunch them. And just as we found out that Gap wasn't doing very well, they're kind of turning things around, and come the new fragrances, and they've launched 5 fragrances. They're not super expensive, although it's Gap, so it's not a very expensive designer house. And they are also based out of San Francisco, but I actually didn't buy these in San Francisco. I'm in the middle of 3 different, between 3 different trips right now. I'm doing 3 different trips for the next 2.5 or 2 more weeks left. And I did my one and I bought this on the trip, and I'm here for a few days, leaving on another trip, and come back here for a few days and leaving on another trip. So glad to have these. I'm going to talk to you about them right now. We're going to do these in alphabetical order, and except for the new launch, we're going to talk about that last. So I think Harmony is the newest fragrance. And then we've got Dream. We have Grass. Grass is the one that I remember a lot. Heaven. And Om. And of course, as I said, I have Harmony. That's the new introduction, but the previous 4 are reintroductions. So they've redone the fragrances. Originally, they were eau de toilette. Now they're eau de parfum. 50 ml bottles for $52. And yeah, let's talk about them. We're going to talk about Dream first. Dream is considered a floral musk, or a musky floral fragrance. And before I get into this fragrance, were you guys wearing these fragrances back in the 90s? I know maybe some of you were not even born in the 90s, but those of you that were you wearing these fragrances? See on the back, it says originally created in the 90s, reimagined for today. And this is Dream. And then you can scan it right there for the scent profile. I believe these are created by Firmenich perfumers. I think it's Honorine Blanc. There might be another perfumer as well. I can't 100% remember. The information was taken from the Gap website, but I didn't find any information on perfumers there. But I've been following the launch of these, and I think I saw some video of Honorine Blanc speaking about the fragrances. So did she create the original ones back in the day? I think maybe she did, and then she's reintroduced them. But again, I'm not 100% sure. But this has bergamot, neroli, orange blossom. There's jasmine, tagette, freesia, cedarwood, musks, and amber. So as soon as I smell it, I am picking up reminders of what the fragrances used to smell like. And if you guys don't know, I've always been scent curious. And I was smelling these back then. Probably wasn't wearing them, although I did enjoy Grass back then. But I never wore any of these fragrances. I wore 1 or 2 here and there somewhere along the way, probably late 90s into the early 2000s. But I don't think I wore like full-size bottles, so I can't remember exactly what I wore. But this seems to be very fresh, very citrusy, and also citrus floral forward. It does seem to, to me, it smells like it has a little bit of a fruitiness, but they're not claiming any fruits. I almost feel like I pick up a little bit of apricot I wonder if it's the tagette note that's in here it's creating it with the freesia note as well. There's freesia here as well. But I think it's totally in line with the fragrances of Gap and reminiscent of what I remember and modernized for sure. So Gap Dream, does it smell like a dream? Does it necessarily have to smell like a dream? I'm not 100% sure it needs to smell like a dream. I like this one. I think it's settling into something musky and woody, but it's quite floral and citrusy up top. And the fact that we have bergamot, plus we have the two varieties of orange blossom, the Rolly and orange blossom here, along with jasmine, freesia, and the tagette. Tagette is marigold. So it's quite floral experience here. But for me, tagette, marigold, is not necessarily smelling like your traditional white flowers, if that makes sense. But it's nice. It's pleasant. Not like 100% something I really love. But let me know your thoughts on Gap Dream. Add a comment below. All right, the next one is Grass. This is the one that I'm super duper looking forward to. And it's the one I remember. It's the one that had a lot of talk back in the 90s. The amount of talk I remember about fragrances in general. I think Grass was super popular back then. So obviously the visual is kind of like grass, green. So is this a green fragrance? Let's smell. The bottles are super simplistic, as you can tell. Super simplistic. Nothing really imaginative, which makes sense for the brand. This is considered a clean citrus. I might even say maybe it might lean a little bit green. It's again 50 ml, $52. It's Eau de Parfum concentration. So this has mandarin, linden blossom, there's violet leaves, matcha, cypress, lavender, Virginia cedar, Hollywood, vetiver, cashmeran. So I think what's triggering greenness here is the ozonic notes. A little bit of the linden blossom because it comes off a little green and sweet honeyed. And then the matcha. Matcha is throwing in a green... It's throwing in a green grassiness, which obviously this is called grass. So I think matcha as a note, I don't remember seeing it in fragrances from the 90s. I think it's a more modern note. And to me, matcha has the smell of tea and also a grassy green tea. So I think it was appropriate for them to use here. But this is not reminding me too much of the original from what I remember. But then again, it fits the style. It fits the brand and their fragrances perfectly. So it's very crisp. It's very fresh, somewhat juicy, and, ozonic notes. It's violet leaves, so it's quite ozonic here. It's crisp, juicy, wet, watery. Just imagine like a lawn that's just been mowed, but also it's been, watered, sprinkled on. And so you've got the smell of that greenness and, of course, the wetness that kind of projects off of the grass. But super matcha forward. The matcha is very, very prominent here. I like this one. The matcha is definitely giving us a little bit of the tea effect, for sure, because it is a variety of tea. So I think it suits it. I wish it was a little bit greener, and I wish it was a little bit more like green grass rather than matcha forward, but I think it's doing the job. So these are just my first impressions. Just to be honest, I also sampled these really quickly, but I wasn't sure how these were going to be received. So I placed an order as I was traveling to pick up after I got to my destination. So just to make sure they had them. But honestly, they have them at a original Gap store, but also on this last trip, I was at a Gap outlet. They also had the fragrances there. So if you're a shopper of Gap and you go, if there's maybe perhaps a Gap outlet near you, at least the one I went to had the fragrances there. And of course, the official store had the fragrances there where I bought these from. All right, yeah, I like this. This is getting greener. The tea effect is definitely happening. It is grassy and it's crisp, fresh. So I do enjoy it. All right, next we've got Heaven. There we go with the nice big cloud there. So the first 4 fragrances, as I said, are fragrances that existed in the past. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk about is the newest release. So it's brand spanking new, not reintroductions, not re-releases. And so, yeah, we've got Heaven here. This is considered a floral amber. And once again, it's Eau de Parfum and $52 for 50 ml bottle. I believe they come in 50 ml and maybe a 10 ml or a 15 ml bottle. I went straight to the 50 ml bottles because that's what I go for. So let's see what this one's all about. This does have pear, juniper, cardamom, honeysuckle, vanilla, patchouli, amber, and musks. So far, this is actually really doing it for me. And from when I was putting the notes down, for me, this one and the next one, Om, are the ones that sound really great. I think it's a given. This does have patchouli in the notes. It has amber in the base with vanilla. There's also musks. So it's not super fruity with the pear, I should say. It's also clean. It's very, very clean and spicy. So it's kind of minimal on the fruity side, and also the fact that it has the honeysuckle. That is also quite minimalistic. For me, what I smelled as soon as I sprayed it is a lot of the ambery vanillic side and also the patchouli earthy side. And then it started developing into, what I should say is, and then I started picking up a little bit of the pear and the honeysuckle and the spices. But I think this one on skin is going to smell great. So far, this is my favorite of the 3 that I've sampled. And I think this will do wonderfully. These fragrances are not super heavy. They're not super intense. They are stronger. They're Eau de Parfum, concentrations. So I think they will work nicely for someone that wants to smell great, but doesn't want to overwhelm themselves or, people around them with scents. To me, they also are quite Gap-like. I remember Gap had a DNA. This is kind of back to that DNA, but for sure modernized. And to me also, it doesn't smell like other typical designer fragrances. So if you're into the Chanels, the Diors, and the YSLs and the Armanis, there is a little difference about these. They don't smell like those designer fragrances. To me, also, I didn't know what niche fragrances were back in the 90s. That term was not used. I always felt like Gap fragrances were definitely something totally different than what, the regular designers were releasing. And same thing now. These don't smell like what I smell from other designers, which is a good thing, because I'm getting so bored of fragrances smelling very similar to others. I'm 99.9% sure that these are Firmenich creations. So there's that familiarity, because Firmenich does fragrances for all brands, including niche and designer. But I'm glad that they're not smelling like things I've smelled. There's definitely a DNA there, and I'm reminded of the Gap fragrances, very modern takes on them, and definitely things that I don't smell from other designers. All right, next up we've got Om. Gap Om. Again, when I was putting down my notes, I thought this one and Heaven sounded the best to me. And let's see, I did smell these really quickly, but basically I had already ordered these online, so I didn't have to go shopping for them. I just went into the store and picked them up. But a quick smell, and I can't remember what any of the fragrances were all about, except for quick, I don't know, just light reminders of what I think they might be. But this is Homme. Once again, it's Eau de Parfum, 50 ml for $52. It's considered a woody aromatic. Let's see if that's how it smells when I'm smelling it. But we've got ginger here, olibanum, water, lotus, lily floor, sandalwood, coriander flower, amber woods, cashmeran, cedar, balsamic musks. This is, to me, the strongest, as in it has more depth. And I think to me the lightest might be Grass, but it's probably competing with Dream. And of course, Heaven is stronger than those two. And then I think Homme is, from what I'm experiencing here, is much stronger. But it is also more deeper in the base. So it's kind of dense. I'm smelling something really super strong, but more focusing on the base notes. This is the one I'm going to actually wear because it is heavy on the base notes. Let's do that for sure. This is also reminding me of a more deeper take on something like Molecule 1. If you like fragrances like that, I think you will. Oh, this one's really good, actually. Because I really love Molecule 1. But they mention cedar, but it could be ISO E Super in here. And I'm picking up something similar to that. It could be my nose playing tricks on me, but I'm getting ISO E Super-like effect. But something that's a bit more built around that note rather than just a minimalistic fragrance. And that's kind of why I like this one. It's very woody, it's very spicy, it's also musky, and you know, it's got some light resinous things happening there. But this is definitely a winner for me from the collection. That is Homme. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of ISO E Super, Molecule 1, this is the one you should check out. Again, I'm not saying it's identical to it. It's giving me ISO E Super vibes, but there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more depth here. It's not just the cedar or the ISO E Super. It does come off minimalistic, but it's deeper. Wow, that's actually quite good. Anybody into woods would enjoy that one. And I like the fact that it's full of musks. So that is Homme from Gap. So far, my favorite. And last but not least, we're talking about Harmony. As you saw, I did the original reintroduced fragrances in alphabetical order, and I left this till the last. I guess I could have done it all in alphabetical order, but I wanted to make sure you guys know that those 4 fragrances used to exist. They don't currently, and basically they've reintroduced, I mean they do now, but they didn't for a while. So they've reintroduced them and updated their fragrances. And I think the only one I remember 100% is Grass. It doesn't smell like it, but it gives me the same vibe of it. The other ones I don't remember. So they're kind of new fragrances to me. But let's talk about Harmony. This is a 2026 launch. This is considered a fruity floral fragrance. Let's see what it's all about. Once again, it's a 50 ml for $52. And there is a smaller size, which I don't remember the exact size. But fruity floral seems to be the most popular genre out there, somewhat. This is bergamot, apricot, mandarin, gardenia, jasmine, tuberose, sheer woods, amber, aquatic musks. They are definitely playing off of the aquatic. This is kind of watery. It's not marine, thankfully. It's just aquatic. and it's also got floral notes. So it's kind of, the tuberose and jasmine are, well, more tuberose than jasmine I'm picking up, and there's something translucent about it, sheer about it. So it's super clean, it's sweet, it's woody, it's musky. It's a good one. It's not my favorite, but I feel like it's pretty quality offering, and the styling is, I mean, they've given it the fruity floral styling, and it is exactly what you're getting. All right, it's not my number one. Let's do a quick. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spray Heaven on the other hand, since that's my second favorite. Ooh. The Heaven warms up quite a bit on my skin. There's amber and vanillic notes plus the patchouli. But still, I think Homme is my favorite. Tell you that right now. But let's quickly go through Dream, Grass. All right, here's the list. Starting at the bottom, number 5, I would say is Harmony. But I don't hate it. It's just a ranking here for the new Gap fragrances. And that's where I'm feeling that fragrance. Even though I said it's good, I think it's good. But it's quite juicy. The fruitiness of the apricot along with the white flowers and the aquatic notes or aquatic musks is creating a very juicy effect. But still, I feel like that is perfectly at number 5. Number 4, I would go with Dream. Dream, wow, it's kind of fizzled away. Yeah, I think Dream deserves the number 4 spot. It's clean, it's musky, it's citrus floral, but I'm familiar with a citrus floral effect that I'm not picking up here. Not that there's anything bad with it. It's a very clean, fresh, citrusy and floral musky offering with light woods and amber in the base. So yeah, it deserves the number 4 spot. I might be able to switch Harmony with Dream, but I kind of like the cleanness, the simplistic quality, minimalistic quality of Dream a little bit more than Heaven. And then we've got Grass. But really, honestly, Grass is really heavy on the matcha. Super heavy on the matcha. But yeah, it does have a grassy effect. But to me, it's grassy, and I feel like matcha always comes off like that, but dry grass rather than fresh grass. So there is that going against it. If you're thinking you're getting a fresh, grassy scent, I'm not getting that. But I think it does the trick or the job, and it has a very cozy quality. Tea fragrances generally do that. It's also somewhat creamy there and, green leaning. So that is Grass. And then I would put, that's at number 3. And then I would put Heaven at number 2. I think it deserves number 2. It's a bit sweet. It's a bit earthy, ambery. This is probably the second most intense of the bunch here. And for me, if I'm going to rank concentration, Homme is the heaviest. Heaven is next. Harmony is after that. Grass is after that. And Dream is the last, is the lightest to me. But Heaven is nice. It's sweet, but not super sweet. It's warm. It's musky once again, and woody and ambery. That is heaven. Does it smell like heaven? There is a light reminder of something creamy, vanillic, ice creamy, but it's very light. And then last but not least, at number 1, it's Homme. And again, to me, this is awesome. It's molecule 1 with a lot more depth and a lot more things happening with it. But still, I like its simplicity. And it's very this is really, really good. Wow. It has depth, but it doesn't scream super loud. Just the kind of fragrance I like that's reminiscent of Molecule 1. Imagine Eccentric 1, which is part of the same collection of Molecule 1 and Eccentric 1. Imagine this would have been Eccentric 1. And again, I'm not saying that I'm 100% sure that there is ISO-E Super here, but to me, it smells like it. And a lot of times brands list Cedar, and it's actually ISO-E Super. And the fact that it's reminding me of ISO-E Super and Molecule 1, then I feel like there is ISO-E Super used in here. But Homme is my favorite of the bunch. I really enjoy it. Some things to know about these fragrances. If you're used to the fragrances that I normally talk about, really super intense, loud, Eau de Parfum fragrances, these are not them. Be warned. If you're nostalgic about Gap scents and you want to relive those times when you wore them, I think these will be perfect. That's why I bought these, because I remember them and I didn't have a lot of them. And of course, I wanted to have them to see what they've done. And if I can relive and remember the 90s, which to me was one of the best decades I've ever lived. So it does that. It does do that for me. And are they feminine leaning? I think personally they are unisex. Some do lean a bit more feminine than the others. I think the most masculine to me is Homme. And again, my favorite is Homme. So yeah, those are some things to keep, to pay attention to. The other thing is, when I was buying these, there was a 15% off thing that came up, but it wasn't letting me use it. And these are excluded from any promotions, it says, which I was bummed about. I wanted to take advantage of 15% off, and it didn't let me. And so I bought these at full retail, so it was around 250 something plus tax. And so nice to have them, nice to relive them. Let's see where they go after this. Will they launch other collections and things like that? And let's see how popular they will become. But for me, if you like my taste, but you don't like it super intense, I would go with Homme first. That is the best. And especially if you are a fan of Eccentric Molecules, Molecule 1, I think this is going to satisfy. It does have more depth. Just keep that in mind. It's not as minimalistic. But to me, I think the fragrances are a bit on the minimalistic side. So I think it should satisfy. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys here today on the latest Gap fragrances. 5 new Gap fragrances have been launched, and I go over them here in this video. Let me know your thoughts on the Gap fragrances. Are you curious about these? Will you skip these? Will you, not check them out? I would say these are kind of in line with Zara fragrances. But to me, I feel like Zara fragrances tend to be very dupey, and these don't seem like it to me. I don't know, but I think they're kind of in line with Zara and other similar H&M maybe. H&M does fragrances as well, although they're much cheaper than these. Banana Republic does fragrances. I've spoken quite a bit about them. And what other similar retailer does fragrances like this? I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, if you're into or you used to Zara fragrances, then you might be into these fragrances from Gap as well. But let me know your thoughts. Which one sounds great to you? Add a comment below. If you've already sampled these, let me know that as well. Add a comment so we can find out. And again, after watching this video, are you planning on checking these out? Which one sounds the best to you? Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. Please interact with this video, like it, share it, comment, and reply to some other comments. That would really help the video get to a wider audience. And then, of course, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and click that bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.